Greetings, friend, and welcome to the Between the Covers podcast, where we are working every day to remove the self-limiting beliefs that are preventing us from becoming the heroes of our own stories. I am Marcus Spar, and I'm just going to be completely frank and honest. My heart is very heavy right now. At the time of this recording, it has been not even 48 hours since we heard the results of the election here in the United States. And I am very disappointed, and I'm depressed, and I find myself full of anxiety. And I know that some of these opinions are not going to be well received, especially by those who were in the majority who voted for Trump to be president. I have never understood the mental gymnastics that some people have been able to perform in order to believe that a person who is a convicted felon has done some terrible things against women, who has had the kind of affairs, and I don't even know everything that President Trump is known for. I can't understand the mental gymnastics to see someone like this and say, that is the kind of person who needs to represent our nation and who needs to be in one of the most prominent positions of power. What I want to talk about is why I am so afraid of the year 2025. You see, I have already lived through a Trump presidency. I had a lot of anxiety during those 4 years. My partner Libby had a lot of anxiety. Seeing how many of the supporters of our president want to turn to violence, believe in a misogynistic patriarchy, and these people who claim that they are serving a God that says that he is a God of love. And yet all I see is hate. I see so much hate. I see so much controlling. I see so much of these people who are only looking out for what is beneficial for individuals who could be me. Cisgendered white men who call themselves Christian, who view marriage as a union between one man and one woman, of people who look at Muslims and see them as enemies, of looking at secularists, atheists, agnostics, and seeing them as enemies, seeing them as less than, seeing them as not worthy of having a voice in our democracy. Tuesday night, when we heard, I'll be honest, I didn't want to hear. I had hope that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz would win the election. And I was mistaken. I was sorely disappointed, even shocked to hear that Trump won by such a margin. And I heard this about 15 minutes before I was going to go to sleep. My partner, Libby, cried. She cried because of her own grief, her own disappointment. She cried because of her fear. I have been numb almost since I heard the news. When I heard the news of who won the election, and I was lying in bed trying to go to sleep, I had so many thoughts, a flurry of thoughts coming into my mind. And probably within the span of about 15 to 20 seconds, I had a dozen intrusive thoughts about ending my own life. That's not something that I want to experience or even live with. Thankfully, I have a therapist who has been very understanding and very supportive. I have friends who are supportive and understanding. I was able to reach out to them yesterday and just share what was going on. Last night, I had a good conversation with Libby and let her know where I was. I fear a lot of what can happen to the United States. I fear that the U.S. will no longer be a democracy with what is planned through Project 2025. I fear that this nation will no longer be a place for individuals like me who do not call themselves Christian. I fear that the democracy will become, at best, a theocracy, or at worst, a fascist dictatorship. I have heard from Trump's own mouth how if he won this election, then this would be the last one of these that we'd ever have to do. He would change it. I fear for my very, very dear friends. I was speaking with one of my friends yesterday, and I was told that there were thoughts about whether or not it was maybe time to try and move to a different country, find work, get a visa. My friend has a master's degree. He would be very desirable elsewhere. Libby and I have thrown around the idea, what are we going to do if Trump wins again? What are we going to do if things turn out the way that they're promising? Are we going to stay here? Are we going to uproot ourselves and go somewhere else because we just do not feel safe? I fear for my homosexual friends. One of them shared about how being in a homosexual relationship with another man who is a teacher, that with some of the regulations and changes that they want to make with Project 2025, that all that would need to happen is for these two men to be seen in public, to go so far as to have a picture of them together on the teacher's desk, and a parent or a student seeing something or hearing something, and my friend being prosecuted for teaching LGBTQ values and having to register as a sex offender. I fear that this great experiment that has been known as the United States, as this democracy, will no longer exist, because a small group of radical conservative individuals think that they know what's best for everyone. And they get to decide what happens to everyone, what is acceptable and what's not. I fear for the medical crisis that is going to take place and is already taking place, because women cannot make decisions about their own bodies. On this podcast that I listened to called Straight White American Jesus, they were sharing last week of a young woman in Texas who was having a baby shower, had complications during the baby shower, and she went to a hospital, and the doctors wouldn't help because of the draconian anti-abortion laws that at least 20 states have said, yes, this is what needs to happen. She could not get help because doctors needed to make certain that her life was in danger, and that was reason enough in order to abort this fetus. And she didn't make it. It's not the first time I've heard this story. There are individuals who are looking to go to medical school, who are specifically looking at states to go to school because they don't want to be subjected to such draconian laws and measures. I fear for what is going to happen in my marriage, because J.D. Vance has gone so far to say that individuals like me and my partner Libby, who are married but do not have kids, should be punished for that, because we are not propagating. So we should be taxed higher than everyone else. We should be taxed higher than individuals who have children. I fear for all of the women, young and old, that if they do what they say they want to do, to make sure that no one is even going out of their state to get an abortion, that they are tracking them. They are following them. They know about their periods. They know if they are pregnant, and they are watching to make sure that nothing happens to these fetuses and these babies. I understand. I do. I understand the value of unborn children. I do. And yet there is so much that is not being valued for these women who have complications, for these women who maybe are carrying a child that they don't wish to carry because it's one that came from rape or incest. And what about couples that are trying to have children and they just can't? Are they supposed to be punished for that? I fear that we are getting to a point where we are not going to see the same United States ever again. I hope that's not the case. I will still do what I can in order to fight for my rights and the rights of my friends. I will still do what I can to be the hero in my story and to continue inspiring others. And yet I am exhausted, emotionally and physically exhausted from all of this fear. I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is it's November right now. It's going to be the end of December by the time this podcast releases. We're supposed to be gearing up and preparing for a new year after celebrating a season of thanks and the most wonderful time of the year. And I don't believe that this is going to be the most wonderful time of the year. I will do all I can to be thankful. Thankful for all of the family and friends who love and support me. I will be thankful for those who listen to and are inspired by my own musings. But I can't find myself going into December or into this new year and finding myself being joyful about it. I look at 2025 and I'm filled with dread. I don't even know everything that is written down in the over 900 pages of Project 2025 that was written mostly from very conservative evangelical Christians who are trying to create this American theocracy because they believe they have the right form of Christianity. These individuals who say they are a part of the New Apostolic Reformation. But I think it's about time I started reading it so I know what to expect. So I know how I can protect myself. Most of the time when I get to the end of a year, I am thinking about what can I do to improve myself? What can I do to make next year even better than this year? And where I'm finding myself is I'm finding myself looking at next year wondering, how the fuck am I going to protect myself? How in the hell am I going to take care of my mental health, of my partner's mental health? How am I going to care for my friends and my family who are going to be negatively impacted by all of this? How do I handle the challenges that are ahead of me without checking out and numbing out because they seem so overwhelming and daunting? how will I survive another Trump presidency when I was shocked I was able to make it through one? That's where I'm at right now. I never expected to go through something like this again. I thought 2023 was going to be my year from hell. But it looks like there's a chance I'm going to have another 4 years of hell. I don't know how I'm going to get through it. There was a reason why 2 nights ago, as I was lying down to go to bed, and I'm hearing Libby tell me that Trump had more than 270 electoral votes, that my mind went to many different ways of preventing myself from experiencing this nightmare. I know that there are many out there who look at this transition and they're excited and they're full of glee and delight. And the thing that bothers me the most are these individuals are the ones who look at someone like me as if I'm an enemy, as if I'm evil, as if somehow there is something innately wrong with me that needs to be purged, unless I convert and follow their beliefs and I believe everything and think everything the same way that they do. I am not bothered by Christians who want to practice their faith. But you're not going to force me to do so. I'm not going to believe and follow in something that I don't believe in. I will fight that. And I can only hope that there are enough people like me who will do all that they can to stand up against any kind of tyranny, against the machinations of the New Apostolic Reformation, who, by the way, are not just trying to do this here in the States, they're trying to make this a worldwide movement. I am so tired of hearing people describe how we're in the end times. Something that has been predicted ever since Jesus' death. We have been in the end times for over 2,000 years. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the animosity. I'm tired of the pain, of the hurt, of the judgment. Which is why I'm going to fight for love. I'm going to fight for acceptance. I am going to fight to protect the people that I love. The one thing that I thought is, if Trump won the election, the one thing that came to my mind is from Star Wars Episode 3, when Palpatine is announcing the coup of the Jedi, and that he is going to turn the Republic into an empire, and Padme says, "So this is how liberty dies," amongst thunderous applause. That's how I feel right now. And I am grieving. And I will probably be grieving the next 4 years. That's why I am afraid of 2025. That's why I do not look forward to what comes next. I'll do what I can to survive. But I also grow tired of being in a position where I feel like all I can do is survive. Keep being the hero that the world needs. And going back to my discussion about protagonists and antagonists, there are many people out there who are going to look at me as if I am antagonistic towards their goals and their agendas. And yet I'm not going to stop being the hero in my story. And until next time, live strong for today.